This audiobook unveils the hidden power of silence as the gateway to infinite possibility. Within stillness, you'll discover that what you seek has always been seeking you. Learn how to quiet the noise within and align with the universe's creative force to transform your life effortlessly. The Silence Paradox. Introduction. Within the depths of silence lies a gateway to infinite possibility. Through the ages, mystics and sages have understood that stillness holds the key to unlocking the universe's most treasured secrets. You stand now at the threshold of discovering this timeless truth. In the sacred silence, you will find more than mere absence of sound. You will uncover the living presence of universal wisdom. When the endless chatter of thought subsides, when the ceaseless movement of the mind grows still, a profound transformation begins to unfold. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. Its guidance flows most clearly through the channel of inner quiet. Just as a lake must be still to reflect the stars above, your mind must enter profound silence to mirror the divine intelligence that surrounds you. This silence is not passive, it is alive with creative force. It is the silence from which all manifestation springs forth. When you learn to rest in this sacred stillness, you align with the very power that creates worlds. Your desires and intentions become pure, undiluted by the static of scattered thoughts. In silence, you will discover that what you seek has always been seeking you. The abundance, clarity, and flow you desire emerge naturally when you release the noise that blocks their expression. Like a radio tuning to the perfect frequency, silence allows you to receive the universe's endless stream of guidance and grace. As you journey deeper into these teachings, this silence will become your greatest ally. It will reveal insights that words alone cannot convey. It will open doors that effort alone cannot unlock. Through silence, you will learn to manifest not through force, but through surrender to the perfect order that already exists. Let this silence be your first teacher. In its embrace, you will find everything you need to transform your life into a masterpiece of divine creation. Part 1. Awakening the Quiet Power Within. Chapter 1. The Noise Within. In the bustling marketplace of Alexandria, there lived a merchant named Ibrahim, whose coffers overflowed with gold and precious gems. Yet despite his material wealth, a perpetual restlessness gnawed at his spirit. He traveled from city to city, seeking wisdom from scholars, mystics, and holy men, but found only temporary solace in their words. One day, hearing tales of a mysterious temple high in the mountains, Ibrahim embarked on an arduous journey. After many days of climbing, he discovered an ancient stone structure where a silent monk tended a simple garden. For 3 days, Ibrahim waited, but the monk spoke not a word. On the 4th morning, as Ibrahim prepared to leave in frustration, the monk finally turned to him and smiled, pointing first to his own heart, then to the sky, and finally to the earth below. In that moment, Ibrahim understood what countless words had failed to teach him. The answer he sought had always resided in the silence within. The noise that fills your mind is like a veil, obscuring the natural flow of abundance that surrounds you. Just as a radio cannot receive clear signals when static interference drowns out the broadcast, your connection to universal wisdom becomes distorted by the constant chatter of thoughts, worries, and fears. This mental noise creates resistance, blocking the very prosperity you seek to attract. Every anxious thought about lack generates more experiences of scarcity. Each worry about the future plants seeds of the very outcomes you wish to avoid. The universe responds not to your words or actions, but to the energy you emanate. And a cluttered mind emanates confusion rather than clarity. In the village of Kashan lived a simple potter named Rashid, who spent his days crafting vessels in perfect silence. While others rushed to market with their wares, speaking endlessly of profits and losses, Rashid worked in quiet contentment. Gradually, those who purchased his pots began to notice something special about them. They seemed to bring peace to any home they entered. As word spread, merchants traveled from distant lands to acquire his creations. Without seeking wealth or acclaim, Rashid's silent dedication attracted abundance beyond measure. The lesson of Rashid's story mirrors an eternal truth. When you still the internal chaos, you naturally align with the abundant flow of life. His silence was not one of deprivation, but of richness, a silence pregnant with possibility. To begin accessing this transformative power of silence, incorporate this ancient practice into your daily routine. Find a quiet space where you will remain undisturbed for 5 minutes. Sit comfortably with your spine straight but relaxed. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. Notice the gentle rhythm of your inhalation and exhalation. When thoughts arise, as they naturally will, simply observe them without judgment and return your focus to your breath. This is not about forcing your mind to be empty, but about creating space between your thoughts. Practice this ritual each day, preferably at the same time and in the same location. Just as drops of water can eventually fill an entire vessel, these moments of silence will gradually transform your relationship with the infinite source of all abundance. Chapter 2: The Hidden Rule of Effortless Flow. In the ancient kingdom of Lydia, Queen Adara ruled with both wisdom and compassion. Her realm flourished beyond all others, yet few knew the true source of its abundance. Hidden within the palace grounds lay a secret garden where the queen would retreat each morning as the sun painted the sky in hues of gold. You see, Queen Adara had discovered what the greatest sages of history have known, that in silence lies the key to all prosperity. As she sat among the blooming jasmine and flowing fountains, she would close her eyes and attune herself to nature's whispers. The gentle rustle of leaves, the soft melody of birdsong, the quiet murmur of flowing water. These became her most trusted advisors. Through this daily ritual, she accessed a wisdom far beyond human counsel. Solutions to the kingdom's challenges would arise effortlessly in her mind. Opportunities for growth and abundance would present themselves with perfect timing. The more she surrendered to this sacred silence, the more her kingdom thrived. The truth that Queen Adara embodied is available to you now. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, but the presence of infinite possibility. When you quiet the endless chatter of the mind, you align with the same universal intelligence that guides the stars in their courses and brings forth abundance in all of nature. This great silence is the hidden foundation upon which all manifestation rests. Just as a tree cannot grow without the quiet darkness of soil surrounding its roots, your desires cannot manifest without moments of stillness to take root in your consciousness. In the bustling port city of Ephesus lived a young merchant named Cyrus, whose trading ventures had brought him great wealth. Yet in his relentless pursuit of more, he became deaf to the quiet voice of wisdom within. His rushed decisions and anxious investments eventually led to the loss of everything he owned. In his darkest hour, an old woman offered him shelter in her modest home. Each morning, she would sit in her small courtyard before sunrise, perfectly still. At first, Cyrus thought her idle, but curiosity led him to join her one dawn. In that precious silence, he began to hear what his noise had long drowned out, the subtle guidance of the universe itself. Day by day, his inner clarity returned. New opportunities emerged, not from desperate seeking, but from quiet listening. Within a year, his fortune was restored, built this time on the solid foundation of inner silence. To access this transformative power, embrace this timeless practice. Find a place in nature or where natural sounds can reach you. Sit quietly for 15 minutes each day, allowing your attention to rest on these sounds, perhaps the wind in the trees, distant birdsong, or the rhythm of rain. Do not analyze or label these sounds, simply let them wash over you. Feel yourself as part of this natural symphony, connected to the endless flow of universal abundance. Chapter 3. Silence and the Subconscious Mind. In the misty peaks of the ancient mountains where wisdom whispers on the wind, there dwelled an oracle known only as the Voice of Silence. Those who sought her guidance would find their way to a simple stone temple where a sign bore these words, "To receive, remain still." Many came seeking answers, yet few possessed the patience to unlock the oracle's gifts. Merchants, nobles, and peasants alike would sit before her, their minds racing with questions, only to leave empty-handed when silence proved too demanding a price. Then came a shepherd girl named Maya, who sat in perfect stillness from sunrise to sunset. As darkness fell, the oracle appeared, her eyes reflecting starlight. "You have learned the first key," she said. "In silence, all visions arise. Through the stillness of your mind flows the river of infinite possibility. This truth, known to mystics throughout the ages, reveals itself to you now. Your subconscious mind holds the power to manifest your deepest desires, but only silence can unlock its vast potential. When you quiet the endless chatter of conscious thought, you open the gateway to this hidden realm. Like a still pond that perfectly reflects the moon, a quiet mind mirrors the divine intelligence that shapes all creation. This is why those who master silence master manifestation itself. Your subconscious mind speaks in whispers and symbols, in the language of pure potential. It connects directly to the universal mind where all possibilities exist simultaneously. But its voice can only be heard when the noise of surface thought subsides. In the great library of Alexandria, a young scholar named Theron spent his days searching ancient texts for the secret of transformation. Despite his vast knowledge, true wisdom eluded him, until he discovered a weathered scroll that contained just 3 words: "Silence reveals all." Intrigued, Theron began spending the hour before dawn in complete stillness. At first, his mind rebelled, flooding him with thoughts of his studies, his ambitions, his doubts. But gradually, like clouds dispersing to reveal clear sky, his mental chatter subsided. In this newfound silence, answers began arising effortlessly to questions that had long puzzled him. Solutions appeared in his mind, fully formed, as if placed there by an unseen hand. His understanding deepened not through accumulating more knowledge, but through allowing wisdom to emerge from within. To access this transformative power yourself, practice this ancient ritual. Each night as you prepare for sleep, find a comfortable position and dim the lights. Allow your breath to become slow and steady. In this sacred space between waking and dreaming, hold your deepest desire in your mind, not with force or strain, but as gently as you would cradle a precious jewel. Let all other thoughts fall away until only this desire remains, floating in pure silence. Maintain this state for as long as feels natural, knowing that in this stillness you commune directly with the infinite intelligence that manifests all things. Chapter 4. Listening to the Language of the Universe. In a time beyond memory, there lived a wanderer who carried no possessions save a small cloth bag. Villages would welcome him not for his material wealth, but for the wisdom he shared through tales spun beneath starlit skies. The universe, he would say, speaks constantly to those who know how to listen. You now stand at the threshold of understanding this eternal truth. When you quiet your mind, the language of the universe becomes clear as morning sunlight. Every moment carries a message. Every encounter holds meaning. But these divine whispers can only be heard in the spaces between thoughts. The signs surround you always, in the flight of birds, in chance meetings, in seemingly random occurrences that guide your path. Yet like trying to hear a distant melody while standing next to a waterfall, the noise of your racing mind drowns out these subtle messages. Through silence, you attune yourself to the rhythm of universal intelligence. Each synchronicity becomes a beacon, each coincidence a compass, pointing toward your highest good. The universe orchestrates countless events to support your journey, waiting only for you to notice its gentle guidance. Once there was a sailor named Ibrahim who had lost his way in treacherous waters. Storm clouds blocked the stars he used for navigation, and fear began to cloud his judgment. As panic threatened to overwhelm him, he remembered the wisdom of his grandfather, "When lost, first find stillness." Ibrahim forced himself to be still, to quiet his frightened thoughts. In the silence, he began to notice things his anxiety had hidden from him. The subtle pattern of the waves, the direction of the wind, the faint glow of stars barely visible through breaks in the clouds. Following these quiet signs, he guided his vessel safely to harbor. Just as Ibrahim found his way through stillness, you too can discover the signs meant specifically for you. The universe crafts a unique language for each soul, speaking through symbols and synchronicities that resonate with your inner truth. To begin recognizing these divine messages, practice this timeless observation ritual. Set aside time each day to sit quietly in a place where you can observe your surroundings without distraction. Let your attention rest softly on what unfolds before you. Notice patterns, recurring symbols, or anything that draws your awareness. Make no effort to interpret these signs at first. Simply observe and record them in a journal. Over time, the language of the universe will reveal itself to you, speaking through the silence in ways only your heart can understand. Chapter 5: Silence as a Portal to Presence. In the mist-shrouded mountains of an ancient kingdom, a young warrior named Jin sought the guidance of a legendary sage. Tales spoke of this master's ability to emerge victorious from battle without ever drawing his sword. When Jin found the sage meditating beneath a gnarled oak tree, he waited impatiently for acknowledgement. Hours passed in silence until Jin's frustration burst forth. "Master, teach me the secret of your invincible technique." The sage opened his eyes and smiled. "Walk with me," he said simply. They came to a cliff's edge where a single leaf danced in the wind. "Watch," the sage commanded. For an entire day they observed the leaf's movement until Jin understood. The leaf survived because it moved in perfect harmony with each moment, neither fighting nor fleeing. Through silence, you access the infinite power of the present moment. When your mind ceases its endless chatter about past and future, you stand fully in the now, where all possibility exists. This state of presence is your natural inheritance, yet it remains obscured by the constant noise of thoughts. Think of your mind as a still pond. Each thought creates ripples, distorting the clear reflection of reality. In silence, the ripples settle, and you see things as they truly are. This clarity brings forth effortless action, perfect timing, and access to the universe's limitless wisdom. In a distant valley lived a gardener named Wei, whose plants flourished beyond all others. While fellow gardeners followed strict schedules and complex techniques, Wei worked in complete silence. Each morning he would enter his garden and simply be present with every plant, every breath of wind, every drop of dew. Other gardeners scoffed at his methods until they noticed that Wei's tomatoes grew twice as large, his flowers bloomed twice as long, and his herbs carried twice the potency. When asked his secret, Wei replied, "I do not garden. I simply allow myself to be fully present as the garden tends itself." To experience the power of presence yourself, practice this ancient ritual of mindful nourishment. Choose one meal to eat in complete silence. Turn off all devices and create a space free from distraction. Before beginning, take 3 deep breaths to center yourself. Then, eat slowly, paying attention to every sensation, the texture, temperature, and taste of each bite. Notice the movement of your hands, the aroma of the food, the subtle sounds of eating. When your mind wanders, gently return to the physical experience of the moment. This simple practice will begin awakening you to the power that resides in pure presence. Chapter 6. Mastering the Art of Mindful Listening. In the verdant hills of a forgotten valley lived a young musician named Arya. Though she possessed the finest instruments crafted by master artisans, her melodies felt hollow and lifeless. Seeking to deepen her art, she journeyed into the wilderness where, for 7 years, she did nothing but listen. She absorbed the whispers of wind through leaves, the rhythmic patterns of rainfall, and the sacred songs of birds at dawn. When she finally returned to play again, her music carried such power that it could heal the sick and bring joy to the heaviest hearts. The art of listening holds transformative power beyond measure. When you truly listen, not merely with your ears but with your entire being, you tap into the universal symphony that orchestrates all of creation. This deep listening requires you to move beyond the surface noise of life into a space of pure receptivity. Most humans have forgotten how to listen. They hear only fragments of reality, filtered through the constant commentary of their minds. Yet within you lies the innate ability to tune into the deeper frequencies of existence. As you cultivate this gift of sacred listening, you begin to perceive the subtle guidance that the universe constantly offers. Just as a radio must be precisely tuned to receive a clear signal, your consciousness must be aligned through mindful listening to receive the wisdom that surrounds you. When you listen with your whole being, you become aware of the invisible threads that connect all things. In this state of receptive awareness, solutions arise effortlessly and synchronicities multiply. In contrast stands the tale of Prince Marcus, heir to a prosperous kingdom. So consumed was he by the noise of court life, the constant flattery, entertainment, and distractions, that he failed to hear the whispered warnings of his most loyal advisors. He ignored the quiet complaints of his people and dismissed the subtle signs of approaching danger. By the time the enemy armies appeared at his gates, it was too late. His kingdom fell because he had never learned to listen deeply. To awaken your own powers of sacred listening, practice this ancient ritual of focused attention. Find a comfortable position and choose a single sound from your environment, perhaps the flow of water, the rustle of leaves, or even the gentle hum of your home. For 10 minutes, give this sound your complete attention. Do not analyze or judge it. Simply listen as though you are hearing it for the first time. When your mind wanders, gently return to the pure experience of listening. Through this practice, you will begin to access the deeper dimensions of awareness that lie beneath the surface of ordinary perception. Chapter 7. Quieting the Inner Critic. In a bustling city of stone and marble, there lived a sculptor whose hands could breathe life into the coldest rock. Yet despite his renowned skill, an unrelenting voice within tormented him day and night. "Your work lacks depth," it would whisper. "Others create masterpieces while you craft mere shadows." This voice grew so fierce that his chisel began to tremble, and his once confident strokes became hesitant and weak. One moonlit evening, as he struggled with an unfinished piece, an aged sage appeared in his workshop. The sage observed silently as the sculptor battled his inner demons. Finally, he spoke. "You listened too intently to the wrong voice. Through the wisdom passed down through countless generations, you now understand that the harshest critic dwells not in the outside world, but within your own mind. This voice, born from ancient fears and accumulated doubts, speaks with an authority it does not deserve. The power to silence this inner critic lies not in fighting against it, but in learning to rest in the space between thoughts. When you enter this sacred silence, you touch the infinite wisdom that has guided every master throughout time. Here in this stillness the critic loses its grip, for it cannot exist where pure awareness dwells. Think of your mind as a vast sky, and these critical thoughts as passing clouds. The sky remains unchanged, unmoved by whatever weather patterns cross its expanse. You too possess this unchanging awareness beneath the temporary storms of self-doubt. Let us now turn to the tale of Maya, the potter whose hands once trembled with each touch of clay. Her inner voice constantly compared her work to others, finding flaws in every curve and line. Her creative spirit withered under this relentless judgment until she discovered the ancient practice of silent witnessing. Each morning before touching her wheel, Maya would sit in complete stillness, watching her thoughts arise and dissolve like ripples on a pond. She learned that she was not these thoughts, but the peaceful awareness in which they appeared. Gradually, her work transformed. Her pottery began to reflect this inner silence, each piece radiating a harmony that drew admirers from distant lands. To access this transformative silence yourself, practice this timeless ritual of awareness. Find a quiet space where you can sit undisturbed. Close your eyes and allow your attention to rest in simple awareness. As negative thoughts arise, neither resist nor engage with them. Simply observe them as though watching clouds pass across an endless sky. Notice how each thought, no matter how harsh or persistent, eventually dissolves on its own when not given the energy of your attention. Practice this for 10 minutes, remembering that you are not these thoughts, but the vast space of consciousness in which they appear and disappear. Chapter 8. Receptivity through Stillness. In a village snuggled among ancient hills lived an elder whose wisdom flowed not from books or teachings, but from the depths of silence. Each dawn, while others rushed to their daily tasks, she would sit motionless beneath a weathered oak tree, her eyes closed, her breath barely visible. The villagers learned to recognize these moments, for when she emerged from her stillness, her words carried the weight of prophecy. Time and again, her quiet insights guided the village through droughts, storms, and seasons of change. When asked how she accessed such knowledge, she would simply say, "The future whispers to those who listen with their whole being." You possess this same innate ability to receive guidance from the universe. Like a still lake that perfectly reflects the sky above, your mind in silence becomes a crystal-clear mirror for divine wisdom. When you cease the endless internal dialogue, you create space for universal intelligence to flow through you. This receptivity is your natural state, though the modern world has trained you to fill every moment with noise and activity. The universe constantly broadcasts its messages of abundance and opportunity, but these signals can only be received in the frequency of stillness. Consider the tale of Chen, the rice farmer, whose fields lay adjacent to those of other farmers in the valley. While his neighbors followed traditional methods passed down through generations, Chen discovered a different approach. Each morning, before touching a single tool, he would sit in absolute silence at the edge of his fields. In this stillness, he began to notice subtle patterns: how the morning dew gathered differently in various sections, how certain birds favored specific areas, how the soil felt beneath his feet. By listening deeply to the land itself, Chen learned to plant according to these hidden rhythms. Within one season, his harvest doubled, while using less water and effort than before. His neighbors, puzzled by his success, asked him to share his secret farming techniques. Chen would simply invite them to sit silently with him at dawn, but most found the practice too simple to believe or too challenging to maintain. They sought complex solutions while the answer lay in simple stillness. To cultivate this receptive stillness in your own life, practice this ancient morning ritual. Rise before the sun and find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Let your breathing become soft and natural. For the next few minutes, imagine yourself as an empty vessel, open and receptive to the universe's abundance. Don't try to make anything happen. Simply maintain an attitude of quiet receptivity. Feel yourself as a channel through which universal wisdom can flow. Practice this ritual daily, preferably at the same time and place, allowing the power of receptive silence to accumulate and deepen. Chapter 9: Silence as a Form of Intention. In the mountains where ancient traditions still whisper through time, there lived a blacksmith whose work was unlike any other. While most forges rang with constant hammering and shouting, his workshop maintained an almost sacred silence. Each morning, as dawn painted the sky, he would enter his forge without a word, light the fires, and begin his work in perfect stillness. Those who watched him noticed something extraordinary. Every strike of his hammer seemed to carry intention rather than force. In the quiet between strikes, the metal seemed to glow with an inner light that transcended mere heat. The weapons and tools that emerged from his silent forge possessed qualities that defied explanation. Plows that never dulled, swords that seemed to dance in their wielders' hands, bells whose rings could calm storms. When asked about his methods, he would simply smile and point to his heart, then to his hammer, then to the space between them. His message was clear. The power lay not in the striking, but in the silence that guided each blow. You too possess this power of silent intention. When you release the need for constant noise and movement, your energy naturally aligns with your deepest desires. Like the blacksmith's hammer, each action becomes infused with purpose when it emerges from stillness. In the valleys below the blacksmith's mountain lived a healer known for her miraculous touch. Unlike other healers who chanted incantations or prescribed elaborate remedies, she worked in complete silence. Those who came to her noticed how she would first sit quietly beside them, her eyes closed, her hands folded in her lap. Only when absolute stillness descended would she begin her work. One day a nobleman brought his dying son to her door. The boy had been seen by every renowned physician in the land, yet continued to fade. The healer received them as she did all others, with silence. For 3 days she sat with the child, moving only to place her hands upon him in perfect stillness. On the 4th morning, color returned to the boy's cheeks, and his breath grew strong. The nobleman, overcome with gratitude, begged to know what prayers or medicines she had used. She simply took his hand and placed it over his own heart, teaching him that the most powerful healing begins in silence. To harness this ancient practice of silent intention, begin each day with this ritual. As the sun rises, find a quiet place where you can be undisturbed. Close your eyes and let your breath become steady. In this stillness, hold your deepest intention in your heart, not as a wish or a want, but as a truth already manifesting. Let this intention settle into silence, like a seed sinking into fertile soil. Throughout your day, return to this silent intention during natural pauses, before meals, while walking, or during moments of transition. Each return to silence reinforces your intention's power, like the blacksmith's steady strikes or the healer's patient vigil. Chapter 10. The Sacred Pause. In a distant valley where time seemed to flow like honey, there lived a traveling monk whose presence brought extraordinary changes wherever he walked. Unlike other teachers who carried scrolls of wisdom or preached elaborate philosophies, his teachings centered on a single practice, the sacred art of pausing. In one village plagued by discord and misfortune, he noticed how the inhabitants rushed through their days, their minds scattered like leaves in a storm. Instead of offering solutions, he simply began to stop. In the marketplace, he would pause mid-step, breathing deeply. While drawing water from the well, he would stand in perfect stillness before lifting the bucket. During conversations, he would fall silent between words, creating spaces of pure awareness. The villagers, at first puzzled by his strange behavior, began to notice something remarkable. Those who mimicked his pauses found their thoughts growing clearer, their decisions wiser, their hearts lighter. Arguments that once erupted now dissolved in moments of shared silence. Work that had seemed overwhelming became manageable when approached with mindful pauses. You hold within you this same transformative power. Each pause in your day creates a doorway through which universal wisdom can flow. These moments of stillness are not empty spaces to be filled, but sacred intervals where your energy realigns with the infinite intelligence of the cosmos. Along the ancient trade routes that connected distant lands, there lived a merchant whose fortunes had dwindled despite his ceaseless activity. From dawn until dusk, he rushed between markets, haggled with traders, and calculated his losses. His mind never knew rest, and his wealth continued to slip away like water through cupped hands. One evening, exhausted and desperate, he encountered an old woman sitting by the roadside. She neither moved nor spoke, yet something about her stillness drew him to stop. As he waited for her to acknowledge him, he found himself experiencing his first moment of true pause in years. In that instant, his racing thoughts settled like dust after a storm, and he glimpsed a clarity he had long forgotten. The old woman finally opened her eyes and shared with him the practice of sacred pauses. She taught him to stop 3 times each day, when the sun first touched the horizon, when it reached its peak, and as it began its descent. In these moments, she instructed him to simply be still and breathe. As the merchant incorporated these pauses into his days, remarkable changes began to unfold. His mind grew sharper, enabling him to see opportunities he had previously missed. His decisions, made from a place of clarity rather than anxiety, proved increasingly wise. Within a year, his fortunes had not only restored, but multiplied beyond his previous success. To embrace this ancient practice of sacred pauses, incorporate this ritual into your daily life. 3 times each day, allow yourself to completely stop. Whether standing or sitting, release all doing and simply be. Let your breath become your anchor, flowing naturally without force or control. Feel how each pause creates a space where wisdom can enter, where clarity can emerge, where your energy can realign with the universal flow of abundance. Part 2. Mastering the Art of Silence. Chapter 11. The Sacred Pause. The wisdom of sacred pauses flows through the ages, passed down by those who discovered its transformative power. Yet in your own life, these precious moments of stillness often slip away, consumed by the rushing current of daily demands. When you find yourself caught in cycles of stress and confusion, remember that the universe speaks most clearly in the spaces between moments. Each pause creates an opening through which divine guidance can enter, where your energy naturally realigns with the cosmic flow of abundance. The ancient teachings reveal that manifestation flows most powerfully not from constant action, but from rhythmic alternation between movement and stillness. Just as nature moves in cycles of activity and rest, your creative force strengthens when you honor these sacred intervals. Think of your mind as a pool of water. When disturbed by constant motion, its surface becomes too turbulent to reflect the stars above. Only in moments of stillness can it mirror the infinite wisdom of the heavens. Similarly, your inner wisdom emerges most clearly in the quiet spaces between thoughts. These pauses need not be long to be powerful. Even a breath's length of conscious stillness can reset your energy and restore your connection to universal intelligence. Like a compass needle settling to true north, your being naturally orients toward harmony when given moments of pure presence. The practice of sacred pauses works gradually but inexorably, like water smoothing stone. Each moment of stillness creates a small opening in the dense fabric of your daily consciousness. Through these openings, fresh insights and opportunities naturally flow, often arriving with such ease that they seem like gifts from the universe itself. In truth, these gifts were always available to you. The pauses simply clear away the mental static that prevented you from perceiving them. As you cultivate this practice, you'll discover that less effort often yields greater results, as your actions arise from clarity rather than confusion. Shift your focus now to the ancient practice of the 3 sacred pauses, a timeless ritual that beckons you to embrace stillness and inner tranquility. Choose 3 moments in your day, perhaps at sunrise, noon, and sunset, to completely stop all activity. Whether standing or seated, release every unnecessary tension from your body. Let your breath flow naturally, neither controlling nor changing it. Simply observe its rhythm while allowing all thoughts to pass by like clouds in the sky. Maintain this stillness for at least 3 full breaths, feeling how each pause refreshes your energy and restores your alignment with universal wisdom. Return to activity only when you sense an inner signal that the pause is complete. This practice, though simple, holds the power to fundamentally shift how energy moves through your life. Each pause becomes a reset point, a moment of recalibration where your personal vibration naturally harmonizes with the frequency of abundance and clarity. Chapter 12. The Energy of Stillness. In the heart of an ancient forest, there existed a lake whose waters held mysteries beyond mortal understanding. Those who stumbled upon its shores often passed by, seeing nothing more than a peaceful body of water. Yet those who knew its secrets understood that within its depths lay a gateway to extraordinary healing power, accessible only through perfect stillness. A wandering medicine woman once discovered this truth. She had traveled far, carrying herbs and remedies to aid the sick in distant villages. Though skilled in her craft, she felt something lacking in her healing work. One evening, exhausted from her journey, she came upon the lake just as twilight painted the sky in gentle hues. As she settled by its shore, something compelling her to remain absolutely still, she noticed a subtle vibration emanating from the water. The more completely she surrendered to stillness, the stronger this energy became, until she felt bathed in waves of pure healing light. In that moment she understood. The lake's power had always been present, but only revealed itself to those who could match its stillness. Your own being operates by this same principle. Within you flows an endless stream of healing and transformative energy, yet this power remains dormant until activated through inner stillness. When you cease all movement, physical, mental, and emotional, your natural frequency rises to meet the universe's highest vibrations. Think of your energy field as a musical instrument. When played carelessly, it produces discord. But in stillness, it naturally tunes itself to the perfect pitch of universal harmony. This alignment attracts experiences that match your elevated frequency. Health, abundance, clarity, and peace flow to you without effort. The medicine woman returned to the lake daily, each time discovering deeper layers of power through her practice of stillness. Soon, those she treated noticed a remarkable difference. Her touch carried new potency, and even her presence alone seemed to ease suffering. The lake had taught her that true healing power comes not from doing, but from being, from matching one's own frequency to that of pure potential. One day, a young apprentice healer sought her out, having heard tales of her extraordinary abilities. He found her sitting motionless by the lake's edge, her face reflecting perfect serenity. Rather than immediately sharing her secrets, she simply invited him to sit beside her in complete stillness. At first, the apprentice fidgeted restlessly, his mind racing with questions. But gradually, as he surrendered to the silence, he began to feel what she had discovered, the subtle yet profound energy that permeated everything around them. In that moment he realized that all his previous learning, while valuable, had been merely preparation for this fundamental truth. The greatest power lies in stillness. In your quest for deeper understanding, you have come upon the ancient practice of vibrational stillness. Find a quiet space where you can remain undisturbed for 10 minutes. Sit comfortably with your spine straight, but relaxed. Allow your body to become completely still, like a mountain reflecting in a pristine lake. Make no effort to control your thoughts or breathing. Simply observe any movement of body or mind without responding to it. Feel the subtle energy field within and around you, allowing it to naturally harmonize with higher frequencies. Maintain this practice daily, knowing that each session elevates your vibrational alignment with the universe's infinite healing power. Chapter 13: Silence and Emotional Mastery. In the mountains of the east lived a warrior whose name struck fear into the hearts of his enemies, not for his prowess with the sword, but for his unshakable presence. You see, this warrior had discovered a truth that transcended the battlefield. True power lies not in the force of arms, but in the mastery of one's inner realm. Each morning, while other warriors trained with weapons, he would sit in perfect stillness, observing the rising sun. His enemies, expecting to find him practicing combat, instead discovered him in deep meditation. At first they mocked his methods, but soon they witnessed something extraordinary. In battle, while others fought with rage and fear, he moved with a clarity that seemed almost supernatural. You, like this warrior, possess the ability to transform your inner battlefield into a sanctuary of power. When emotions surge through your being, whether anger, fear, or despair, silence becomes your greatest ally. In stillness, you gain the power to observe these feelings without becoming enslaved by them. The universe has gifted you with emotions not as burdens to bear, but as energy to be transformed. In silence, anger reveals itself as passion waiting to be channeled. Fear shows itself as wisdom seeking expression. Grief carries the seeds of profound strength. But these transformations can only occur in the space of silent observation. Think of your emotions as messengers arriving at your door. In the chaos of reaction, their messages remain unread. But in silence, you receive their wisdom fully, transforming their raw energy into power that serves your highest purpose. In a distant village lived a widow whose grief threatened to consume her entirely. Each day she would visit the temple gardens, not to pray or seek counsel, but simply to sit in silence. As seasons passed, something remarkable occurred. The very emotions that had once threatened to destroy her became the foundation of her strength. In silence, she learned to observe her grief without drowning in it. She discovered that beneath the pain lay a wellspring of compassion, understanding, and resilience she never knew she possessed. Her transformation was so complete that others began seeking her guidance, drawn to the quiet power she embodied. Through silence, you too can access this transformative power. When emotions arise, resist the urge to suppress or express them immediately. Instead, create a space of silent observation where their true nature can reveal itself. Engage in the sacred practice of emotional alchemy, where you transform the raw, unrefined energies of your emotions into a wellspring of wisdom and strength. When strong emotions surface, find a quiet space where you can be alone. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Allow the emotion to exist fully in your awareness without trying to change or judge it. Observe its qualities, its texture, intensity, and movement within you. Maintain complete silence, breathing naturally as you witness this emotional energy. Continue this practice until you feel the emotion begin to shift and transform naturally. Remember, you're not trying to make the emotion disappear, but rather allowing it to reveal its deeper wisdom through the power of silent observation. Chapter 14, The Alchemy of Patience and Silence. In the heart of an ancient village dwelt a blacksmith whose blades were sought by kings and warriors from distant lands. What set his creations apart was not the heat of his forge or the strength of his arm, but the sacred silence he maintained while working. Each morning, before touching hammer to steel, he would stand motionless before his forge, allowing stillness to fill his being. You possess within you the same transformative power of patient silence. Like the blacksmith's forge, your inner fire burns brightest when tended with quiet dedication. The universe responds not to hurried demands, but to the steady rhythm of patient attention. When you combine silence with patience, you activate one of the most potent forces of manifestation. Think of patience not as passive waiting, but as active stillness, a powerful state where transformation occurs naturally without force or resistance. In this space, your desires align with universal timing, creating outcomes far superior to those achieved through rushed action. Every master craftsman knows that excellence cannot be hurried. The blacksmith understood that each sword required its own time to emerge from the metal, just as each seed of manifestation in your life requires its season to bloom. Through patient silence, you allow the natural unfoldment of your desires, neither pushing nor pulling against the flow of divine timing. In the same village lived a farmer whose fields yielded harvests that seemed touched by magic. While others rushed through their farming duties, speaking constantly and working hastily, he moved through his fields in complete silence. Each plant received his patient attention, each row tended with unhurried presence. Season after season, his crops flourished beyond explanation. When asked about his methods, he would simply smile and gesture to the earth beneath his feet. He knew that nature reveals her secrets only to those who listen with patient silence. His success emerged not from technique alone, but from the quality of presence he brought to each moment in his fields. To access this transformative power, choose one task each day to perform in complete silence, moving through each step with deliberate patience. Whether washing dishes, preparing a meal, or tending to your garden, maintain total silence while slowing your movements to half their usual speed. Feel the quality of your attention deepen as you resist the urge to rush. Notice how this practice not only transforms the task at hand, but begins to shift your entire relationship with time and manifestation. This ancient practice of patient silence will gradually reshape your energy field, allowing your desires to manifest with a natural grace that forced action could never achieve. Like the blacksmith's legendary blades and the farmer's abundant harvests, your creations will carry the unmistakable quality of something crafted in harmony with universal timing. Chapter 15. Letting Go Through Silence. In the highest peaks of an ancient mountain range, where clouds embraced the stone and wind whispered timeless secrets, there lived a wise hermit who kept eternal silence. To this sacred place came a king, burdened by the weight of his crown and the countless attachments that bound his spirit. The king's realm was vast and prosperous, yet he found no peace in his golden halls. Each night he lay awake, haunted by fears of loss and the constant need to control every aspect of his kingdom. Upon hearing tales of the silent hermit, he journeyed to the mountains, leaving behind his royal garments and wearing only simple robes. For 40 days the hermit guided the king without words, teaching him to sit in pure silence. At first, the king's mind raced with thoughts of his kingdom, his wealth, his responsibilities. But as days passed in stillness, these concerns began to dissolve like morning mist in sunlight. In silence, he discovered that his attachments were merely shadows, and his fears were chains of his own making. When the king descended from the mountains, his people barely recognized him. Gone was the furrowed brow of worry, replaced by an aura of serene presence. His kingdom flourished not through rigid control, but through the wisdom of letting go. The power of release through silence holds the key to manifesting your deepest desires. When you sit in stillness, you create space for the universal flow to move through your life unobstructed. Each attachment you release, each fear you surrender, opens another channel for abundance to enter. In a distant valley lived a dancer whose graceful movements once enchanted audiences across many lands. Yet one day, she found herself unable to dance, frozen by expectations, judgments, and the weight of others' opinions. Her art became rigid, mechanical, devoid of its former spirit. Seeking answers, she retreated to a quiet grove where ancient trees stood in eternal silence. Each dawn she sat among them, letting the stillness wash over her. As days passed, she began to notice how the trees moved in the wind, without effort, without thought, without attachment to how they should appear. Gradually, she released her grip on perfection, surrendering the need to please others. In silence, she rediscovered the pure joy of movement, unconcerned with judgment or acclaim. When she returned to dance, her performances carried a new freedom that touched souls more deeply than ever before. To access this transformative power of release, find a quiet space where you will remain undisturbed. Take a piece of paper and write down everything you wish to release: fears, doubts, attachments, old patterns that no longer serve you. Hold this paper in your hands and close your eyes. Sit in complete silence for several minutes, visualizing each burden dissolving into pure light. Feel the lightness that comes as you release these weights from your spirit. Let the silence wash through you like a cleansing stream, carrying away all that you choose to surrender. Chapter 16. Creating Sacred Boundaries for Silence. In a village where life pulsed with endless activity and ceaseless chatter, there lived a wise elder whose presence radiated tranquility. While others rushed through their days, she understood a truth passed down through generations. Peace must be protected like a precious flame in the wind. One day, she began to build a small sanctuary at the edge of the village. Many questioned her work, but she continued in silence, carefully placing each stone. When finished, she invited villagers to enter one at a time. Those who stepped inside discovered a profound stillness that transformed their lives. You possess the power to create such sanctuaries in your own life. The universe speaks most clearly in spaces protected from the world's constant noise. These boundaries are not walls of isolation, but rather vessels that hold sacred silence. Think of your mind as a crystal-clear pool. Each distraction, each interruption, creates ripples that disturb its surface. Only when protected can the water become still enough to reflect truth. This is why the ancient ones always maintained spaces dedicated solely to silence and contemplation. Yet this protection requires more than physical boundaries. It demands your commitment to honor the sanctity of your quiet space. When you declare an area sacred, you align with a power known to sages throughout time, the ability to create islands of peace in life's stormy seas. In a distant city lived a scholar whose quest for wisdom led him through countless scrolls and tomes. Despite his vast knowledge, understanding eluded him until he learned of an ancient practice. Each morning, he transformed his small study into an inviolable sanctuary of silence. No one could enter during his practice, and he allowed no distractions to breach its boundaries. At first, maintaining these boundaries proved challenging. Friends questioned his unavailability, and pressing matters threatened to intrude. But he remained steadfast in protecting his silent time. Within this protected space, insights began to flow effortlessly, and his understanding deepened beyond anything found in books. To harness this transformative power, choose a space within your dwelling. It need not be large, only private. This will become your sanctuary of silence. Place meaningful objects that inspire stillness, perhaps a candle, a crystal, or items from nature that speak to your spirit. Establish clear boundaries around this space. Let it be known that when you enter your sanctuary, you are not to be disturbed. Create a simple ritual to mark your entrance, perhaps lighting a candle or taking 3 conscious breaths. This signals to both yourself and the universe that you are entering sacred space. When you sit in this protected silence each day, you align with an ancient lineage of wisdom seekers who understood that true power flows from spaces of undisturbed peace. Select your sacred space today. Cleanse it thoroughly, both physically and energetically. Place objects that evoke tranquility and establish firm boundaries around when and how you will use this space. Create a simple entrance ritual that feels authentic to you. Commit to spending at least 15 minutes daily in this sanctuary, allowing silence to work its transformative power. Chapter 17. The Role of Silence in Decision-Making. In the ancient kingdom of the East, there lived a ruler renowned not for her swift decisions, but for her practice of retreating into silence before any significant choice. When her advisors brought urgent matters requiring her judgment, she would withdraw to a simple chamber high in the palace tower. The universe speaks clearly to those who listen, she would say as she ascended the winding steps. In this sanctuary, stripped of all adornments save a single cushion, she found the wisdom that guided her reign. Through this practice of sacred silence, you too can access the clarity that comes when the mind grows still. The eternal wisdom flowing through all things becomes accessible only when you cease the endless internal dialogue that clouds your perception. Within the depths of silence lies a knowing far greater than the limited reasoning of the conscious mind. This vast intelligence, the same force that orchestrates the dance of stars and the turning of seasons, stands ready to guide your choices when you learn to listen. Many seek answers through endless analysis, weighing pros and cons until confusion mounts. Yet true clarity emerges not from mental gymnastics, but from the space between thoughts. In this void, wisdom flows naturally, unimpeded by the mind's constant chatter. In a distant valley lived a craftsman whose work had grown stale and uninspired. Though skilled in his trade, his creations lacked the spark of originality that once defined them. One day, rather than forcing himself to create, he sat in perfect stillness before his workbench. As the hours passed in silence, something shifted within him. Ideas began to arise, not from his straining mind, but from a deeper well of inspiration. The designs that emerged transformed his craft entirely, and soon his work was sought after throughout the land. This practice of silent wisdom-seeking holds transformative power for your own decisions. When faced with a choice, resist the urge to immediately analyze or act. Instead, create space for silence to work its magic. Find a quiet place where you will remain undisturbed. Sit comfortably and allow your breathing to slow naturally. Rather than wrestling with the decision, simply hold it gently in your awareness. Let go of any need to force an answer. Trust that the same intelligence that guides the tides and turns seeds into flowers will illuminate your path. The answer will arise not as a thunderous declaration, but as a quiet knowing that emerges from your depths. When facing any decision that weighs upon your heart, set aside 20 minutes for silent contemplation. Begin by stating your question clearly in your mind, then release it completely. Focus only on your breath, allowing thoughts to pass without engaging them. Let the answer emerge naturally from the silence, trusting that wisdom will arise in its own time. Chapter 18, Creating Silent Rituals for Daily Life. In the mists of time, before the age of ceaseless motion and endless noise, there dwelt a tribe whose wisdom flowed from their devotion to silence. As the first light touched the eastern horizon and the last rays painted the western sky, they would gather in perfect stillness, their hearts beating as one with the rhythm of the earth. Through these sacred moments of silence, their lives flourished in harmony with the natural world. Their crops grew abundant, their children thrived, and their spirits remained ever connected to the source of all creation. This was not mere coincidence, but the fruit of their unwavering dedication to these daily rituals of silence. You too possess this innate ability to align with the universal flow through sacred ritual. When you establish moments of intentional silence in your daily life, you create bridges between the seen and unseen realms, opening channels for divine abundance to flow freely into your experience. These sacred pauses serve as anchors, grounding you in the eternal present moment where all possibility exists. Through consistent practice, they become powerful portals through which you can access deeper states of consciousness and manifest your desires with greater ease. In the bustling marketplace of a great city lived an artisan whose creations, though skillfully crafted, lacked the spark of divine inspiration. His days were filled with constant activity, leaving no space for the sacred to enter his work. yet something within him yearned for deeper meaning. One day he encountered an elder who shared the ancient wisdom of silent ritual. Following her guidance, he began dedicating the first and last moments of his workday to sitting in complete stillness before his workbench. In these sacred pauses, he would simply breathe and allow himself to become empty of thought. Gradually, his work began to transform. His hands moved with new grace, guided by an unseen force that flowed through the silence. His creations took on a quality that spoke directly to the hearts of those who beheld them. Through his dedication to these simple rituals, he discovered that silence was not merely the absence of sound, but a living presence that infused everything he touched with magic. The power of ritual lies not in its complexity, but in its consistent practice. When you dedicate specific moments to silence, you create sacred containers that hold and amplify your intentions. These daily practices become touchstones, realigning you with your highest purpose and the natural flow of abundance. Now you are invited to create your own ritual of silence. Choose moments in your day, perhaps when you first wake, before beginning work, or as evening approaches, to pause in sacred stillness. Find a space that feels special to you, whether it be a corner of your home, a garden, or beneath a favorite tree. Begin by sitting comfortably and allowing your breath to find its natural rhythm. Let this ritual be uniquely yours, aligned with your deepest values and aspirations. Perhaps you wish to hold a crystal, light a candle, or simply rest your hands on your heart. The form matters less than your commitment to showing up consistently in silence. Take time now to design your personal ritual of silence. Choose a specific time and place where you can practice undisturbed. Begin with just 5 minutes, gradually extending the duration as you feel called. Let your ritual be simple yet meaningful, something you can sustain daily. During these sacred moments, release all doing and simply be present with the silence. Trust that through this practice, you are aligning with the infinite wisdom that guides all life. Chapter 19: Silent Intuition and Inspired Action. In the days when sailors navigated by stars and whispers of wind, there lived a captain known for discovering treasures where others saw only empty seas. While other ships' crews shouted orders and argued over maps, this captain would stand silently at the helm, eyes closed, feeling the subtle guidance of the waters beneath. One stormy night, when conventional wisdom urged sailing east to safety, the captain spent an hour in complete silence. Through this stillness came a clear knowing: sail west against all reason. His crew trusted his silent wisdom, and as dawn broke, they discovered an untouched island, rich with precious gems that had eluded all other seafarers. When you cultivate silence, you access an inner compass more reliable than any external map. In the quiet spaces between thoughts, inspiration flows naturally, guiding you toward opportunities others miss. This intuitive wisdom emerges not through force or strain, but through surrendering to the silence that connects you to universal intelligence. Your mind, when stilled, becomes like perfectly calm waters that reflect truth with pristine clarity. Each moment of silence attunes you more finely to this inner guidance system, allowing you to navigate life's currents with graceful precision. Success flows not from endless planning and worry, but from aligned action, born in stillness. In a busy city square, a young artist struggled to find her voice amidst the clamor of critics and competitors. Her paintings, though technically skilled, lacked the spark that moves hearts. One day, rather than forcing herself to create, she began sitting in silence before her empty canvas. At first, this practice felt foreign. Surely art required active doing. Yet as days passed, something shifted. In these silent moments, images began arising from deep within, untouched by external influence. Her brush moved with newfound authority, guided by an inspiration that flowed through her stillness. Soon her work captured attention not for its technique but for its ability to touch souls, a quality born directly from her practice of silence. This same wellspring of inspiration awaits within you. Through regular periods of silence, you align with the natural flow of creative energy that guides all inspired action. Success becomes effortless when you allow silence to reveal your next steps rather than forcing solutions through mental strain. To access this intuitive guidance, create space each day for silent reflection. Find a comfortable position and close your eyes. Release all need to figure things out or make things happen. Simply rest in the silence, allowing your breath to settle into its natural rhythm. Notice how thoughts arise and pass, but remain anchored in the stillness beneath them. As you practice this regularly, you'll find yourself naturally drawn to take actions aligned with your highest good. Solutions will emerge spontaneously, and opportunities will appear with perfect timing. Trust this process of letting silence guide your way. Chapter 20. Silence and Vibrational Alignment. In the hidden valleys of the ancient mountains, a young monk sought to understand the mysteries of creation. Each morning he would watch as dewdrops formed on spider webs, as flowers turned to face the rising sun, as birds wove their nests with precise patterns. Yet understanding eluded him until his master taught him the way of silent resonance. The master instructed him to sit in absolute stillness, allowing his breath to match the rhythm of the wind through the trees. Days passed as the young monk learned to empty his mind of thoughts, replacing them with the pure vibration of sacred sounds held silently within. Gradually, he began to sense the subtle energies flowing through all things, the pulse of sap rising in trees, the dance of butterflies on air currents, the slow growth of crystals in mountain caves. Through this silent communion, he discovered that all of creation moves to a divine harmony. When you align yourself with this sacred frequency through silence, you naturally draw to yourself those experiences that match your deepest intentions. Like a tuning fork that causes another to vibrate in harmony, your silent attunement to specific frequencies creates resonance with similar energies in the universe. This is the hidden mechanism behind manifestation, not forcing change through action, but becoming one with the vibration of what you seek to create. In a distant village lived a weaver whose tapestries were said to bring good fortune to those who owned them. While other weavers chatted as they worked, she maintained complete silence at her loom, weaving in rhythm with an inner song that none could hear. Those who watched closely noticed how her breathing synchronized with each pass of the shuttle, how her fingers moved in precise patterns that seemed guided by an unseen force. When asked about her method, she would smile and say only that she had learned to match her spirit's vibration to the essence of what she wished to create, be it prosperity, healing, or love. Her silent practice allowed the threads themselves to become conductors of this focused energy, transforming simple wool into vessels of manifestation. This power of vibrational alignment through silence awaits your discovery. Find a quiet space where you will remain undisturbed. Settle into a comfortable position and allow your breath to become smooth and even. Begin by silently focusing on the natural sounds around you, the subtle symphony that plays beneath ordinary awareness. Now bring to mind the feeling of your desired reality, not as a future hope, but as a present vibration. Perhaps it is abundance, radiating as golden light, or harmony, flowing like gentle waves, or clarity, sharp and bright as morning air. Without using words, attune yourself to this frequency through silent communion. Let this vibration fill your entire being until you become one with its essence. Practice maintaining this resonance in silence for several minutes each day, allowing it to calibrate your energy field to naturally attract aligned experiences and opportunities. Part 3. Living in Effortless Flow. Chapter 21. Silent Intuition and Inspired Action. In the days of old, there lived a sailor renowned not for his maps or instruments, but for his extraordinary ability to navigate through the most perilous waters. While other captains relied on charts and compasses, this sailor would stand at the helm in perfect silence, his eyes half closed, listening to an inner voice that spoke without words. During one treacherous voyage, when storm clouds blackened the horizon and massive waves threatened to splinter his vessel, the sailor retreated into that sacred silence. While his crew panicked, he remained still, allowing his intuition to guide his hands on the wheel. Through the tempest, he steered his ship not away from the storm, but through a hidden passage that led to a sheltered bay unknown to other seafarers. There, beneath crystal-clear waters, lay a treasure that had eluded generations of fortune seekers. You too possess this inner compass, this silent guide that knows the way through life's storms to your greatest treasures. When you quiet your mind, you activate an ancient wisdom that transcends logical thinking. This intuitive knowledge flows not from the mind, but from the infinite intelligence of the universe itself. In the depths of silence, you discover that true guidance requires no external validation. Just as the sailor trusted his inner knowing above the fearful voices of his crew, you must learn to value the whispers of your soul above the clamor of outside opinions. Consider the tale of an artist who struggled for years to find her authentic expression. Her early works, though technically skilled, lacked the spark of true inspiration. Each day she would paint what she thought others wanted to see, until exhaustion and frustration led her to abandon her brushes entirely. In this forced pause, she discovered something remarkable. During hours spent in silent meditation, images began to flow through her consciousness, not from her striving mind, but from a deeper well of creativity. When she finally returned to her studio, she worked in complete silence, allowing each brushstroke to emerge from this space of inner knowing. Her new paintings possessed a quality that touched viewers deeply, awakening something in their own souls. When asked about her technique, she would simply smile and point to her heart, for she knew that her true artistry emerged not from technique but from silent communion with her inner guidance. Now it's time for a powerful practice of quiet awareness. Find a quiet space where you will remain undisturbed for 15 minutes. Sit comfortably and close your eyes, allowing your breath to naturally slow and deepen. Place one hand over your heart center, establishing a physical connection to this sacred space of inner wisdom. As thoughts arise, let them pass like clouds across a vast sky, neither engaging nor resisting them. Gradually direct your attention to the subtle sensations in your heart space. You may notice warmth, tingling, or a gentle pulsing. From this space of heart-centered silence, allow any insights, images, or knowings to naturally arise. Trust that your inner guidance speaks most clearly when you create space to listen. Make no effort to force understanding. True intuition flows like water, requiring only your receptive presence. Chapter 22. Silence and Vibrational Alignment. High in the mist-shrouded mountains there lived a monk whose presence alone could calm wild animals and make flowers turn toward him as he passed. Unlike other spiritual teachers who shared wisdom through words, this monk had taken a vow of silence that spanned decades, yet his influence spread far beyond the monastery walls, drawing seekers from distant lands who wished to experience the profound peace that radiated from his being. Each dawn, the monk would sit beneath an ancient cedar tree, his breath synchronizing with the whispers of the wind through its branches. As the sun rose, birds would gather near, their songs becoming more melodious in his presence. Even the most aggressive creatures would grow gentle, as though transformed by the harmonious vibration he emanated. Through silence, you too can attune yourself to these sacred frequencies that govern all of creation. Every desire, every goal you hold dear exists already as a specific vibration in the universe. Your task is not to force these realities into being, but to align your own energy with their existing frequency. In the depths of silence, you discover that manifestation requires no strain or struggle. Like a tuning fork that begins to resonate with a nearby note, your being naturally harmonizes with the reality you seek when you quiet the discordant noise of doubt and resistance. Consider the tale of the mountain weaver, whose tapestries were sought after by nobles and sages alike. While other weavers filled their workshops with chatter and activity, she worked in complete silence, weaving ancient chants into each thread through her focused breathing. Those who acquired her creations spoke of feeling unexplainable peace whenever they came near them. One day, a wealthy merchant demanded to know her secret. "How do you imbue such power into mere cloth?" he asked. The weaver simply smiled and gestured for him to sit quietly beside her loom. As hours passed in silence, the merchant began to feel the subtle vibrations that flowed through her workspace. He realized that her tapestries carried such potent energy because she had aligned herself with the very frequency of peace she wished to create. Now you are invited to experience this vibrational alignment through the practice of harmonic silence. Find a quiet space where you can sit undisturbed. Close your eyes and allow your breath to become smooth and rhythmic. Imagine your body as a perfectly tuned instrument, capable of resonating with any frequency you choose. Bring to mind your deepest aspiration, not just the outer form, but the essential quality it represents. Feel this desired reality as a specific vibration, a note in the universal symphony. As you sit in silence, visualize yourself as a pure channel, gradually adjusting your own frequency until it matches perfectly with this tone of manifestation. Let your entire being resonate with this alignment, knowing that as you maintain this frequency in silence, you naturally draw your desire into physical form. Chapter 23, Transcending Fear with Stillness. In the ancient kingdom of the East, there lived a young warrior whose heart trembled at the thought of battle. Though skilled with the sword, his fear paralyzed him when facing opponents, causing him to hesitate at crucial moments. His teachers had tried everything: rigorous training, stern discipline, even harsh punishment, yet nothing could break through the wall of terror that held him captive. One evening, exhausted from another day of failed practice, he wandered into a remote temple garden where an old master sat in meditation. The master motioned for him to sit, and in that moment of shared silence, something shifted within the young warrior's being. Through silence, you too can dissolve the fears that hold you back from claiming your true power. When you quiet the mind's endless chatter, you discover that fear is but a shadow cast by thoughts, and shadows cannot exist in the light of pure awareness. Fear thrives in the noise of mental projection, in the stories you tell yourself about what might go wrong. Yet in the sanctuary of silence, these projections lose their power. You begin to experience the vast spaciousness of your true nature, which remains untouched by any fear that arises within it. The young warrior continued returning to the temple garden each evening, sitting in silence beside the master. Gradually, he learned to observe his fears without becoming entangled in them. He watched how they arose like clouds and dissolved just as naturally when not fed by attention. In time, his presence on the battlefield transformed. He moved with fluid grace, his actions arising from a place of silent clarity rather than reactive fear. Consider also the tale of a farmer who inherited a plot of barren land. The weight of potential failure crushed his spirit, filling his mind with endless worries about crop yields and weather patterns. Each morning he would stand at the edge of his fields, paralyzed by visions of disaster. Then he met an old woman who tended the most abundant garden in the village. Instead of offering advice about soil or seeds, she taught him to sit in silence before beginning his daily work. In that silence, he learned to distinguish between real challenges and imagined catastrophes. His fear of failure gradually dissolved into the spaciousness of pure awareness, allowing him to work his land with clear-minded dedication. To dissolve your own fears through silence, practice this ancient method. Find a quiet place and sit comfortably. Rather than trying to fight or suppress your fears, invite them to surface fully in your awareness. As each fear arises, observe it with the same gentle attention you might give to clouds passing in the sky. Notice how the fear feels in your body without trying to change or judge the sensation. Maintain your silence and continue watching. You'll begin to notice that fears lose their solid appearance when held in the light of pure awareness. Let them naturally dissolve, understanding that you are not your fears. You are the vast silence in which they temporarily appear and disappear. Stay with this practice until you feel the spacious peace of your true nature emerging beneath the dissolved fears. Chapter 24, Channeling Creativity Through Silence. In the heart of an ancient city lived a poet whose words once flowed like a mountain stream. Yet as the world grew louder around him, his verses became hollow echoes of their former beauty. Night after night, he wandered the bustling streets seeking inspiration, only to return home with empty pages and a heavier heart. One evening, seeking refuge from the city's clamor, he discovered an abandoned garden. As he sat among the overgrown roses, something remarkable occurred. In the profound silence, words began to dance in his mind like leaves in a gentle breeze. Each quiet moment revealed verses more beautiful than any he had previously penned. The universe speaks its most elegant poetry through silence. When you still the endless chatter of your mind, you open yourself to the wellspring of creativity that flows beneath the surface of ordinary consciousness. This sacred silence is not empty. It brims with potential, waiting to be expressed through you. In the quiet spaces between thoughts, inspiration arrives like morning dew, natural, effortless, and pure. The greatest artists, inventors, and visionaries throughout history have understood this truth. Creativity flows not from forcing or striving, but from allowing yourself to become an empty vessel through which universal wisdom can pour. Consider the tale of the sculptor who lived high in the mountains. Though skilled in his craft, his works lacked the spark of divine inspiration. Frustrated by his limitations, he retreated to a remote cave for 40 days of silence. There, surrounded by nothing but stone and stillness, he began to see the hidden forms waiting to emerge from each rock. When he returned to his workshop, his hands moved with newfound grace, revealing sculptures of such beauty that people said they must have been carved by angels. The secret lay not in his technique, but in his discovery of the creative power of silence. Through complete stillness, he had learned to listen to the whispers of the stone itself, allowing each piece to reveal its true nature, rather than imposing his will upon it. To access this wellspring of creativity within yourself, practice this timeless method. Before beginning any creative endeavor, sit in absolute silence for at least 15 minutes. Close your eyes and release all expectations about what you should create. Feel yourself becoming an empty vessel, open to receiving whatever wishes to emerge through you. When thoughts arise, neither grasp nor reject them. Simply observe them, passing like clouds in a vast sky. Allow inspiration to arise naturally from the depths of silence, knowing that your role is not to force creativity but to provide the space for it to flow through you effortlessly. Chapter 25, The Spiritual Dimension of Silence. In the mystic peaks of the Himalayas there lived a sage whose wisdom drew seekers from distant lands. Yet few knew the source of his profound insights lay not in ancient texts or elaborate rituals, but in the depths of silence itself. Each dawn he would retreat to a sacred cave where the boundary between worlds grew thin. There, in perfect stillness, he communed with beings of light who shared universal truths that transcended human understanding. You possess this same capacity for divine communion within yourself. The veil between physical and spiritual realms becomes transparent in the sanctuary of silence. When you quiet the endless stream of thoughts, you create space for higher consciousness to emerge naturally. This sacred silence differs from ordinary quiet. It vibrates with living presence. Through it, you access realms of wisdom beyond the limitations of the physical mind. The universe constantly broadcasts its guidance, yet most remain deaf to these subtle frequencies, their inner receivers clouded by mental noise. Think of silence as the doorway through which divine wisdom enters your consciousness. Just as radio waves exist whether or not you tune into them, spiritual guidance flows continuously. Your role is simply to clear the channel through stillness. Consider the tale of a humble healer who lived in a remote village. Though skilled in herbal medicine, she felt called to deeper healing work. Each evening, she would sit in silent meditation beneath an ancient oak tree. At first, she noticed only the usual thoughts and sensations. But as weeks passed, her awareness expanded beyond the physical. In profound silence, she began perceiving the subtle energetic patterns underlying illness and health. Her healing abilities transformed as she learned to align with higher frequencies of consciousness, accessing wisdom that transcended her formal training. The key lay not in reaching or striving, but in surrendering to silence completely. Through stillness, she discovered that higher consciousness naturally emerges when we create space for it. Her silent rituals became a bridge between worlds, allowing universal healing energy to flow through her unimpeded. To access these deeper realms of spiritual awareness, practice this timeless meditation. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably with your spine straight and close your eyes. Begin by focusing on your breath until your mind grows still. Then imagine your consciousness expanding beyond your physical form like ripples spreading on a pond. Rest in pure awareness, neither grasping nor rejecting any experiences that arise. Allow yourself to become a clear vessel through which higher wisdom can flow. Maintain this silent receptivity for at least 20 minutes, knowing that with consistent practice, your connection to spiritual realms will naturally deepen and strengthen. Chapter 26. Silence and the Law of Allowing. In a coastal village where life ebbed and flowed with the tides, there lived a fisherman who struggled against the sea's rhythms. Each dawn he fought the waves, forcing his way through turbulent waters, yet returned with empty nets. His determination to control the ocean's gifts left him exhausted and bitter. One morning, as frustration overwhelmed him, he noticed an elderly fisherman whose boat seemed to dance with the waves. This wise soul caught abundance with apparent ease, his nets always full. When asked his secret, the elder simply smiled and gestured to the silence of dawn. Intrigued, the struggling fisherman began observing the elder's ways. He witnessed how the old one would sit in perfect stillness before setting out, listening to the whispers of wind and wave. Instead of fighting the sea's movements, he surrendered to its wisdom, allowing the tides to guide his journey. You too must learn this sacred art of allowing. In the depths of silence lies the key to effortless manifestation. When you cease struggling against life's natural flow, you align with the universe's abundant currents. Through silence, you release the need to control outcomes. This surrender opens channels through which blessings naturally flow. Like the fisherman who learned to trust the sea's wisdom, you discover that your desires manifest most easily when you loosen your grip on how they should arrive. In a distant town lived a baker whose shop was failing despite her relentless efforts. She worked countless hours, tried endless recipes, yet success eluded her. Her mind raced with worry, leaving no space for divine guidance to enter. One day, exhausted from striving, she sat in complete silence before her ovens. In that stillness, she felt a subtle shift. Instead of forcing solutions, she began listening to an inner wisdom that guided her hands. She surrendered her rigid plans, allowing inspiration to flow naturally. Soon, customers were drawn to the peaceful energy that infused her bread, and prosperity followed effortlessly. To practice this principle of silent surrender, find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Close your eyes and bring to mind something you deeply desire. Feel its essence fully, then imagine releasing it into the universe's care like a leaf carried by a gentle stream. Let go of all attachment to how or when it will manifest. Rest in the silence of pure trust, knowing that what is meant for you will flow to you naturally. Maintain this practice for 15 minutes, allowing yourself to experience the peace that comes with true surrender. Chapter 27: Breaking Free from External Noise. In a bustling metropolis where the clamor of commerce never ceased, there lived a merchant whose mind knew no rest. Day and night, the cacophony of city life, the blaring horns, endless notifications, and constant chatter filled his thoughts until sleep became a distant memory. His wealth brought him everything except the one thing he truly needed: peace. Guided by an ancient scroll he discovered in his grandfather's library, he journeyed to a remote mountain monastery. There, surrounded by nothing but wind and stone, he initially found the silence unbearable. His thoughts screamed louder than ever in the absence of external noise. Yet as days passed, the quiet began to work its magic. You possess within you this same capacity for profound inner stillness, even amidst life's constant commotion. The noise that surrounds you is but a veil, obscuring the sanctuary of silence that awaits your discovery. To access this wellspring of peace, you must first recognize that external quiet is merely a gateway to inner stillness. Begin by creating small pockets of silence in your daily life. Turn off your devices. Step away from the endless stream of information. Allow yourself to experience the discomfort of disconnecting from the world's persistent hum. In time, you will discover that true silence transcends the mere absence of sound. It becomes a living presence, a source of renewal that sustains you through life's storms. In a nearby village lived a teacher whose wisdom once flowed freely. Yet as the world grew louder, her inner voice became muffled beneath layers of opinion and expectation. Her teachings, once crystal clear, became muddied by the constant noise of social approval and digital distraction. Following an inner calling, she withdrew from her regular life for 40 days. In a small cabin by a mountain stream, she rediscovered the clarity that only silence can bring. When she returned, her words carried new power, not from accumulated knowledge, but from the depths of silence itself. To integrate this wisdom into your own life, set aside one full day as a personal silent retreat. Choose a date in advance and treat it as sacred. Remove all technology from your space. Prepare simple meals beforehand. Create an environment that supports complete disconnection from the outside world. During your retreat, resist the urge to fill the silence with activity. Simply be present with whatever arises. Let your thoughts settle like leaves falling on still water. Notice how clarity emerges naturally when you stop seeking it. This practice, though challenging, holds the power to reset your entire being. In stepping away from the world's noise, you step into your own truth. Chapter 28. Inner Peace in the Midst of Chaos. In the ancient port of Alexandria, there lived a captain renowned not for his strength or skill at navigation, but for his unwavering inner peace. As storm clouds gathered on the horizon one fateful evening, his crew watched in amazement as he stood motionless at the helm, his eyes closed in silent communion with the elements. You see, while others rushed about in panic as the tempest approached, the captain maintained his center through the power of silence. The waves crashed against the ship's hull, thunder roared overhead, yet he remained perfectly still, allowing the silence within to guide his actions. Through his example, you learn that true power lies not in fighting against life's storms, but in accessing the quiet eye at the center of every turbulent moment. When chaos swirls around you, your greatest strength emerges from the depths of inner stillness. The universal law reveals itself through this truth. External circumstances hold no power over your inner state, unless you surrender your silence to them. Just as the captain's ship found safe passage through the storm, you too can navigate life's challenges by anchoring yourself in the harbor of inner quiet. In the markets of Damascus, there once dwelt a merchant who faced the collapse of his trading empire with remarkable serenity. While other merchants wailed and tore their robes as prices plummeted, this wise soul withdrew each day to his private garden, sitting in silence beneath an ancient olive tree. Those who watched him marveled at his tranquility, for despite losing much of his material wealth, his inner peace remained unshaken. Through daily communion with silence, he maintained clarity amidst confusion, eventually rebuilding his fortune with wisdom born of quiet contemplation. When life presents its greatest challenges, create a sanctuary of silence within yourself. Begin by finding a quiet space. It need not be large or special, only private. Close your eyes and draw 3 deep breaths, allowing each exhale to carry away tension and resistance. Feel the silence expanding within you like ripples on still water. Notice how your racing thoughts begin to slow, how your racing heart finds its natural rhythm. In this practice, you access the same wellspring of peace that guided both the captain and the merchant through their trials. Let this be your daily ritual when faced with turmoil. 5 minutes of complete silence, focusing only on your breath. As thoughts arise, observe them without attachment, allowing them to pass like clouds across a vast sky. This simple practice, performed consistently, will transform how you respond to life's storms. Chapter 29. Silent Communication with the Universe. In the heights of the ancient Himalayas, there lived a mystic who understood a truth known to few, that the stars themselves hold wisdom for those who learn to listen in perfect silence. Each night, This mystic would climb to the highest peak, where the air grew thin and the heavens seemed close enough to touch. There, seated in absolute stillness, she would raise her eyes to the celestial dance above and commune without words. You possess this same ability to communicate with the infinite. The universe perpetually broadcasts its messages through the language of silence, awaiting those who learn to tune their inner receiver to its frequency. Just as the mystic discovered, your intentions and desires need no voice to be heard by the cosmic forces that shape reality. When you enter the sacred space of silence, you access a direct channel to universal intelligence. Your thoughts, stripped of the noise of spoken language, travel pure and unhindered through the ethereal planes. This is why those who master silent communication often manifest their desires with remarkable speed and precision. Think of silence not as the absence of sound, but as the presence of infinite potential. In this space, your intentions shine like stars themselves, clear and bright against the dark canvas of possibility. The universe responds not to the volume of your requests, but to the clarity of your silent signals. High in the mountains of Tibet, there once lived a hermit who spoke to no one for 40 years. Yet in his silence, he conducted the most profound conversations of all, with the whisper of wind through ancient pines, with the steady pulse of flowing streams, with the timeless wisdom held in each blade of grass. Through these silent exchanges, he achieved a state of enlightenment that drew seekers from distant lands. The hermit's secret lay not in his isolation, but in his ability to listen with his entire being. When you remove the constant chatter of human speech, nature reveals its hidden teachings. Every leaf, every stone, every ray of sunlight carries messages for those who learn to receive them in silence. To practice this ancient art of silent communication, find a space where you can be undisturbed. Sit comfortably and allow your breath to find its natural rhythm. Let your awareness expand beyond the boundaries of your physical form. Feel yourself becoming a clear vessel for universal energy. Now direct your attention upward and outward, as if addressing the vast intelligence that permeates all existence. Share your deepest desires, your gratitude, your intentions, not through words, but through pure thought and feeling. Let these emanate from your heart like rays of light, knowing they travel instantly to their divine destination. Maintain this practice daily, preferably at dawn or dusk, when the veil between worlds grows thin. Spend at least 15 minutes in silent communion with the universe, alternating between expressing your desires and simply receiving whatever wisdom flows back to you. Trust that your silent voice reaches further than any spoken word ever could. This practice, handed down through generations of mystics and sages, opens doorways to dimensions of manifestation you never knew existed. Through regular silent communion, you align yourself with the very forces that orchestrate the dance of creation. Chapter 30. Silence, Gratitude, and Effortless Manifestation. In a village snuggled among ancient olive groves, there lived a woman whose life seemed touched by divine grace. Each morning before dawn, she would sit in her garden, eyes closed, heart open, offering silent thanks for every blessing, from the smallest dewdrop to the grandest miracle. As her practice deepened, so too did her connection to the universal flow of abundance. Without speaking a word, she radiated such profound gratitude that her mere presence began transforming the lives of those around her. You too hold this power within. The deepest gratitude requires no voice, for its truth resonates in the silence of your heart. When you learn to cultivate thankfulness in stillness, you align with the natural state of abundance that permeates all existence. In the quiet moments between thoughts, gratitude becomes a pure vibration that attracts more reasons to be thankful. Like a stone dropped in still waters, your silent appreciation ripples outward, touching the very fabric of reality. This is the hidden mechanism behind effortless manifestation, the law that governs the flow of blessings into your life. Consider how the universe itself operates in perfect silence. Stars birth galaxies without a sound. Flowers bloom in quiet splendor. The greatest forces of creation work without fanfare or announcement. Your gratitude expressed in sacred silence carries this same creative power. There once was a farmer who discovered this truth during a severe drought. While others complained loudly about their withering crops, he spent each morning in silent thanksgiving for the soil beneath his feet, the clouds in the sky, and even the challenges that taught him patience. As weeks passed, something remarkable occurred. His fields remained mysteriously vital, yielding twice the harvest of previous years. The more silently grateful he became, the more abundance flowed into his life. The farmer understood what many forget, that gratitude expressed in silence carries a special potency. Without the distraction of words, your appreciation reaches deeper levels of consciousness, activating ancient laws of attraction and reciprocity. To harness this transformative power, create space each day for silent gratitude. Find a quiet moment, preferably as the sun rises or sets, when the veil between worlds grows thin. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Allow your breath to settle into a natural rhythm. Begin by focusing your attention on your heart center. Feel it expanding with each breath. Now, bring to mind something for which you feel genuine thankfulness. It might be something you already possess or something you desire to manifest. Rather than forming words of thanks, simply allow the feeling of gratitude to fill your entire being. Let this appreciation flow outward like golden light, knowing that the universe receives your silent thanks and responds in kind. Maintain this practice for at least 10 minutes, allowing waves of gratitude to wash through you in perfect silence. This ritual, practiced consistently, becomes a powerful catalyst for manifestation. Through silent gratitude, you attune yourself to the frequency of abundance, naturally drawing more blessings into your experience. Conclusion. Within these pages, you have uncovered ancient wisdom about the transformative power of silence, yet this knowledge marks not an ending, but a beginning. The path of silence stretches eternally before you, offering deeper revelations with each step taken in sacred stillness. As you continue your journey, remember that silence is not a destination, but a constant companion. Like breath itself, it sustains and nurtures your connection to the infinite. Each moment of quietude strengthens your alignment with universal forces, making manifestation as natural as a flower turning toward the sun. The gifts that arise from your practice of silence will multiply endlessly. Just as a still pond reflects the entire sky, your quiet mind mirrors the abundant possibilities that surround you. Through continued dedication to silent moments, you open yourself to receive blessings beyond imagination. Your relationship with silence will evolve as you grow. What begins as scheduled periods of quiet meditation naturally expands into a perpetual state of inner stillness. This does not mean withdrawing from life's activities. Rather, you learn to maintain that peaceful center, even while fully engaged in the world. The universe speaks constantly through the language of silence. As you attune yourself to this sacred frequency, guidance flows effortlessly into your awareness. Opportunities appear with perfect timing, resources manifest when needed, Relationships align with your highest good. All this emerges naturally from your sustained practice of inner quiet. Consider how a tree grows, steadily, silently, reaching ever upward while remaining deeply rooted. Your spiritual expansion follows this same pattern. Each silent moment deepens your roots in universal wisdom while allowing your consciousness to expand toward new heights of understanding. The flow of abundance requires no strain or struggle when you maintain your connection to silence. Like a river that has found its natural course, blessings move through your life with graceful ease. Your only task is to remain in that state of receptive stillness, trusting in the perfect unfolding of all things. As you continue walking this path, let silence become your most trusted teacher. In its embrace, you will discover ever deeper layers of truth, power, and possibility. The journey never ends, for silence contains infinite wisdom waiting to be revealed to those who listen with patient hearts. Remember that each return to silence strengthens your ability to manifest effortlessly. Every quiet breath aligns you more perfectly with the natural state of abundance that is your birthright. Through sustained practice, you become an open channel through which universal blessings flow freely into the world. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.